comments. If you're able to do put in your chat if you're able to hear me. So I would like to keep this session super. Thanks, Sai, for that comment. I would like to keep this interaction very precise. I don't want to waste your time. I am got some agenda here. I want to make sure that I maximize the stuff that I'm able to get for you today. There are a couple of things that we're going to be discussing today. Okay, I've been clearly been given the topic, which is opportunities for students and faculties and early stage entrepreneurs. But before I get into that, now Yamini, thank you Yamini for reading out a long bio. Um, I am going to keep this session very interactive. I would like you to, the better the questions that you ask me, the better the session is going to be. I have prepared content for you that after this particular session that we're able to do, I will not call it a lecture. This is more of a classroom session. I'm going to take as many number of questions as possible. So before I start off, Yamini had read a lot of big introduction about me saying, this is what Solomon is. And this is, I understand this is a module. But there is one reason why I want you to listen to me. Not because of the introduction that was read, but because it's something that I have gone through. Today, I have a business, yes. But not many people know I had not one but two failed startups. I had not one but two failed startups. You and I always listen to successful stories, right? We always want to listen to successful stories. But I want to tell you today, before I'm able to encourage each and every one of you to move into a startup space, look out for businesses, I want to encourage every one of you to start learning from failures. Now, why you should listen to me? Because I have failed in business, not once but twice, and I don't want that failure to happen for you. I'm very clear that the time that I'm trying to spend with you today, I want to make sure that I'm able to send some ideas into your head, send some thoughts into your head, so that tomorrow when you start your business, tomorrow when you think of start your business, you're able to at least take that leap forward. My friends, I'm going to be brutally honest. My session is going to be brutally honest. It is very rarely that you see adults having an open and frank conversation. Today, my conversation is going to be very frank, very open. I do have some presentation made, but I'm not a presentation guy. I believe in taking a classroom session with a lot of interaction. I believe in taking questions and taking that thought forward. So, without further ado, I would like to put some perspectives together. We're all engineers. We're all engineers. We've learnt our subject. Now, the first thing that when you're trying to start a business, so you can unmute and I'm going to ask you a question. You can unmute and talk to me because then it becomes a little more interactive. So let me ask you a question. The question is, if I'm starting a business, that is if I'm creating a product. So say, for example, I'm creating a product. This is a Bluetooth speaker. What should be my profit margin when I am creating a product? It can be anything. It can be a food. What is the profit margin? I'm thinking, what percentage of profit margin? Why am I coming into this conversation? Because I'm going to set the road off. Not many people will tell you what to do in entrepreneurship. Yeah. But I will tell you what you should not do. Okay. Type your comments here if you're able to follow my session. Is my speed fine? Can I proceed? Just type your comments or unmute and talk to me as well. I'll be happy to answer them. Is my okay? Super. Thank you for that. So let's start. So let me put the perspective in place. I am going to tell you what are the stuff that you're not supposed to do in business, right? So this is what, and then I'm going to lead you into some stuff which I have created for you, which if you want to work on a business plan, you will be able to do so, right? So let's start. First question, you are starting a business, okay? You're starting a business. Are you making a product? what should be your profit margin? Give me your answers on your comments or unmute your mic and tell me. So let's take some answers, because this is the time I'm trying to break the ceiling that people have. Almost the twice of production, says Hanish Venkat. Okay. Okay. Yamini says initially we shouldn't expect anything. Yamini, stop being so good at heart sometimes, please. Okay. Any more answers? Can we get more answers? So almost twice the cost of production. Initially, we shouldn't expect anything, I guess. Okay. It depends upon the type of product, sir. Okay. That is Kilaru. Good answer. Okay. So, Kilaru, if the product is a cell phone, 25% says Sheikh Saidullah. Correct. Okay. Go on. I'm looking at more answers. Hey, if you want, you can unmute your mic and talk to me as well. Enough to keep the rolling business. Dude, that was a very, very good answer. Very good answer. Gorti Lakshmi says enough to keep the rolling business. 20% customers should lead to 80% profit. Interesting. That is Marpu Keshav Chandra. Okay. Sai Charan. Sai Charan says he's got to be doing 20 to 30% profit. Right. Let me give you my perspective. Okay. Now, this is going to, we are all engineers. So the first word you and I need to remember is, I'm going to type it, it's called reverse engineering. So we're going to do reverse engineering. So what is reverse engineering? Reverse engineering is you finally look at the last profit that you should make. Please note this somewhere. And this is one reason why most of the businesses fail. The reason is you start a business without keeping your profit in mind. You're gonna have a shock when I'm going to tell you this. You need to make 4x profits minimum. You need to make 4x. Sai Charan, 70%, no. We are talking about 4x. So what is 4x profits? Now you'll be surprised why we're talking about 25%, we're talking about 35%, 70%. Let me bring it down to you. It is possible, Sai. Well, you have to make it possible. Otherwise, you can't. See, Sai Charan, great question. So I'll answer that question. How is it possible? How do you make 4x profit? I'll answer that question. But let me tell you the thought behind 4x profit. The thought is, if 100 rupees is your profit, or 100 rupees is your cost, you should not make 400. You should make 500. Because 4x is minus the cost price. Let me repeat that one more time. Okay, if you have questions, keep fill me in. I'll be more than happy to answer them. So let's understand this. So you have a minimum of 4x. Why I'm saying minimum? Note my point. Minimum. So if you are having 100 rupees, you should at least make 500 rupees. Then it touches 4x. Now, is that possible? Is Sai Charan is asking. Sai, I'll give an example as to why should it not be possible. Tata Nano failed. Why? Because they were producing a car for 80,000 rupees and sold it for 1,12,000. You please understand. You run an office. You pay taxes. You pay GST. You pay property tax. You pay inflation tax. You have your employees who need at least 5 to 15% raise every year. How are you going to make sure that your business is able to come in? Now, this is where you need to go back to your drawing board. So say, for example, you're coming up with you're making a technical product. In that technical product, you need to research so much that you need to finally understand that, can I search for some sort of a raw material which will bring down my cost? Let me give an example. There is a concept called brush with bamboo. You have a bamboo brush. A normal brush costs about $40. How much does a bamboo and brush will cost? $2. How much can you sell it for? $10. That is the kind of business. So I am trying to tell you, do not get into businesses that does not give you profit. You need to search, you need to identify those businesses which will at least give you 4x profit. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult, boss. Oh, by the way, you also have your rental income. You also have your property tax. You also have, you need to put a deposits for all of these. Now, if you have a restaurant, you have an FSAI license. There is a lot of cost, and this 25% will never be able to justify that. Um, if you What is the cost? Okay, question, and I'll give you the answer in just a bit. What is the cost of an iPhone today? iPhone 7 or iPhone 6? What's the cost of iPhone 6, 7? Type in your comments. What is the possible cost? My question to you is, what is the possible cost of an iPhone 6 or 7? Okay. Uh, Now, just to let you know, iPhone 7, nearly 40,000. Absolutely, 1 lakh plus 32K. Okay, 30 to 40K. Now, this is where I'm coming to. So, Pavan, Yamini, Sheikh, 35K is what Harish is saying. Now, if, okay, let's take Kirti's example of 80,000 rupees. If they are selling it for 80,000 rupees, what do you think is the cost of the product? The cost of the product should be between 15,000. Okay, just to tell you, Foxconn, which is a little away from where we are right now, Foxconn is on the way just next to Tirupati. There's something called Sri City. I'm sure all of you would have heard it. Foxconn is the one who basically manufactures these Apple phones. I was shocked. They told me a number saying that a 45,000 rupees phone is manufactured at 5,000 rupees. 5,000 rupees. So you can calculate the number of X, the volumes that you're able to work around with. More importantly, the kind of volumes you're able to generate. Because if you do not generate those volumes, it's going to be very, very difficult. So my suggestion is pick up a line of business, which will, number one, look at profitability. I'm saying do reverse engineering. My first lesson is to all you engineers, to reverse engineering. Reverse engineering is that what is the profit that you want to achieve? Use that profit, and then you start working on the raw materials. I know Sai had asked me a question, is it possible? We got to make it possible, Sai, because one aspect is that if you do not search for those little things, how do you do not research on it? Like, I'll give an example. In pickles, let's do the Andhra example. In pickles, how is Andhra able to sell more number of pickles than the rest of the country maybe sometimes put together? Because one thing they found, that you have a very spicy red chili. It's a special ingredient, and which brings down the cost as well. You got to constantly look for materials that really make sure that they bring down the cost. Right. So let's come to the second aspect. Product is good. Yes, absolutely. Product is good. Pujita Sai says the product has to be good. It has to be A class. It has to be researched. You should have something called the MVP. So it's called the minimum viable product. I will type it down for you. Minimum viable product. Right. So we finished reverse engineering. Now let's get to the second aspect of it. In college, they always say that you should play to your strength, right? They say that in Hindi, they say, agar aap isme acha ho, ye acha karo. Do what you are strong in. That principle, my friends, cannot be applied to business. Cannot be applied to business. So let me ask you to make a guess. Tell me the name of a company. Tell me the name of a company which are the most qualified. They're the most qualified to run an airlines, but they do not directly run an airline. Which is the most qualified company in India? They're the most qualified. To me, they're the best, most qualified company in India to run an airline, but they do not run an airline. Or they did run an airline for at least about 7-8 years back. Can you, Air Force, okay. Creative answer. I'm looking for a commercial company. Come on. Let's take some wild names. Pavan Kumar, well done. Spot on. Good answer. Tata, well done. So there we have it. Pavan, good job. I mean, Didn't expect that somebody will get an answer so quickly. Good job, Pavan. So I'll give you the story of Tata. So again, this is about my second point. The point is, play to your strength is not the right advice people are giving you. According to me, Tata, let's look at their family history. Mr. Ratan Tata holds a commercial license. He's a pilot by profession. Noel Tata has flown across the Atlantic. We have Ratan Tata, who's also one of the first cousins. They fly helicopters. The Tata Group apparently had the most number of qualified businesses who were pilot by profession, and yet they did not run an airline. Let me tell you one more thing. Tata were the first people in the country to start Air India and sold it to the government. As I said, my experiences are very, very practical. My experiences are on the ground. I look at safety first. I look at a lot of reasonings on how business is done. Tata, after starting Air India, said we may not come back to this industry. It's a different story that they tied up. Please, let's watch this word. They didn't run that airline. They tied up with AirAsia. They tied up with Vistara, but they didn't directly run. They just had a subsidy. Now, you will think the most qualified company in the country is Tata, and they don't run an airline. Why are they not running an airline? Because they clearly see there is no profits. The profits are not there to be made. So Tata is very clear. Boss, this is not passion game, boss. This is business. This is completely business. This is not about strength. This is not about passion. This is about the fundamental of it. Is there money to be made? Is there a market to be there? We all know what happened to Kingfisher. We know what happened to SpiceJet. We know what happened to Jet Airways. Now, Tata saw that much earlier. They said, boss, commercial fuel is going very high. There is a maximum number of taxes that are being we cannot afford it. Why should we have a red on the ledger? Let's get out of that business. Well, just to let you know, the Marans who ran SpiceJet, they also ran out of the business. Why? Because they clearly understood that airlines is not the industry to be in. The fact of the matter is, Sai Charan, I hope I've answered your question as to but why. The idea is to get into a business which will sustain you. Let me start my point again. First is reverse engineering. Second is it's not about the strength. It is not about the strength. It is about the business. So unless and until you have a business that really runs in, that is very, very strong, I will not even advise you to get into business. Hey, Tata is such a big name, right? You'll be surprised. Why do they get into agarbatti? Because, so say for example, a packet of agarbatti, you make 40 rupees. Do you know how many X they're able to make out of that? 8X. 8X profit on agarbattis. Frankincense. Look at those industries where there are less number of players and where you are able to pull in that much. Yeah. So there we have it as one of those important chance of getting this on. We will also be able to look at all of this. Right. So I hope you're okay with my pace. I have one more point to start off with. So after reverse engineering, we talked about business. Let's talk about the third aspect. Now, how do you arrive at a business? How do you arrive at a business? Okay. I think that's a standard question. Small products, more profit. Pujita Sai, you're absolutely right. In fact, sorry to digress here. So say, for example, you have brown sugar, which is jaggery. You're able to make at least about 8x profit. You talk about mangoes this season. They're able to make about, I know I went to a farm, I procured all these important Kasturi and Alfonso for 10 rupees. In the market, it is about more than the number of values. You're absolutely right. You got to look at the kind of small products which can make profit, but on a continuous basis, not on short basis, but on a continuous basis. Yeah. Okay. So, hey, if you have any questions in between, please feel free to type. Or I'm not sure if you're allowed to unmute. You can even unmute your mic and ask. This is a classroom session, so I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Right. So let's move to the next perspective. How do you arrive at a business idea? My first thing is, if you come up, first thing is, before you arrive at a product or service, just check your product or service. Are people willing to buy? Is there a need for that market? Number one. Second, in fact, always go with this. What problem do you solve? What problem? I'm going to type that. What problem do you solve? If your product solves a problem which helps me get me money, and which, if your product helps me with these aspects, so what are the aspects? So what problem can we solve? One problem is time. Can your product or service save me time? Product or service, is it economical? I need to look at, so I'm going to be with time and economical. These are the two things. So let's just go back one more time. So we talked about reverse engineering, we talk about business strength. Third, we are talking about how to arrive at an idea. And when you're arriving at an idea, you got to be on time and economical. Is do you help me save time? Number four, do you help me bring down the cost? Now, very important aspect, where a couple of other questions which I just had, which I kind of missed. I'm going to give you a short insight. It's a very good question which has come up. How do we do market research? Now, when you are in the market, when you are in the market, you decide that you want to do market research. So let me give you a fantastic story. Yeah, I'll give you. In fact, let me see if I can give you two stories to understand uh, how do you reach the market. Yeah, so let's get it on with it. I will give you a story. I don't know how many of you digital campaigning, Keshav. Uh, it can be a two-letter word, which means that it can also mean it can go against you as well. Because the challenge is, just because somebody likes my Facebook page doesn't mean they're going to buy my product. Like in Tamil Nadu, or even in Kerala, there is a company called Kalimark, and they apparently have no presence online. Okay, they have no presence online. Kalimark, Bovonto, they're local soft drinks. They have absolutely no presence at all on digital market. They don't even have a proper website. Coca-Cola and Pepsi, on the other hand, spend a lot of money when it comes to digital campaigns. What really happens was, it's surprising, is the total market share of Coca-Cola and Pepsi, Bovonto and Kalimark is able to have it. So another slight caution: do not get carried away by digital. It is good. You use it to push your market, but do not get carried away by digital, because eventually the fundamentals of business are the same, boss. What are the fundamentals of business? Cost, price, new markets. That's it. The fundamentals of looking for new markets are same. Anyway, going back to my experience of my experience question. Sorry, my case study on Honda. So Honda decided way back, and you should actually Google it. You can on Google it. It's called the Honda case study. It's a very fabulous case study, and where they got the entire size of the market wrong. So Honda decided that, listen, we are a Jap automaker, and we are based in this part of Asia. We have sold some of our cars to South Asia, but we want to become a global power. We want to be a globally. Sai, you raised your hand. Yeah, please go ahead. I mean, Sai, you raised your hand. You have a question. Please shoot. Okay. Sai, did you raise your hands? Otherwise, I can continue. No problem. Let's continue. So, right. So, we will come back. You know what? After this session, I'm going to take questions. We will possibly request for unmuting a little bit later. So, Honda decided that they wanted to become a global power. So, when you want to become a global power, yeah, when you want to be a globally recognized car manufacturer, which are the countries that you need to be in? So so they researched. So let's understand which are the countries they need to be in. They need to be in the Europe. They need to be some part of Africa, but they need to be in the United States of America. They need to be in the Americas. So Honda realized that if we do not go to America, if we do not take America's perspective, if we do not have shops in America, and if we do not sell our cars in America, we are not going to be a respected global car manufacturer. Okay, so and the journey continued. So they researched, they tested their car in Japan for a very long time before they took their car to America. Now, just to let you know, Japan has a very tropical kind of a climate. Now, so it was time for them to open up their showrooms in America. So they opened up in Chicago. They opened up in Ohio. They also had a showroom in New York, and there was also a showroom in California, and then later on in Texas. Um, uh, Nashville also was one of the places where they had opened up a showroom. So about 4 to 5 places in America. Now let me compare this. You have a Honda car, yeah. You have a Honda car. Uh, you have a Honda car, and that particular Honda car, really, this one is being tested in Japan. You are bringing it to the United States of America, where the weather are extreme. In Chicago, you have a wind. California is hot. You go a little up to the north, it is cold. So you can imagine what would have happened. You've tested the car in Japan and you're bringing it to the United States. Launch happened. There were a lot of Japanese Americans who actually ended up buying the car. But as expected, the cars started breaking down. The cars completely started breaking down. Now, let me just quiz you a little bit. When you talk about cars in America, when you talk about cars, yeah, uh, what kind of cars that come into your head? Come on, I need some answers. Uh, I know a lot of you. I'm sure a lot of you are car fans. A lot of you are bike fans. When you're talking about cars, there you go, Ford, yeah, Ford, and Benz, Audi, Tesla. There you go, Chevrolet. So electric cars, the Ferraris as well, yes. But I'm talking about Dodge. Yeah, that's one of my favorite cars now. The Dodge Challenger, BMW is one. Now let me put this up for you. Now let's leave the electric, the Rolls Royce. Okay, let's leave the electric cars outside. Let's leave the Teslas. I'm talking about 15, 20 years back when Honda was, when the car manufacturer was going through a change. I'm talking to the mid 90s to the 80s. Now imagine this. Imagine this. The Cobra Shelby. Now all these cars that you talked about, Cobra Shelby, Mustang, Ford. You know, when you talk about those cars, it brings a smile on your faces. Because why? Because when you start the car, the neighbor's neighbor and living in the other street knows that you're starting a car. They're heavy muscle cars. You start the car, there's a lot of noise on that car. There's a lot of muscle in that car. And that's the kind of car. Because one thing is, an American, they call it the muscle cars, because America is known for its muscle cars. It still is. Detroit is still a home to muscle cars. Of course, things are changing. That we'll come to that perspective of change of market situation later. But I just want to bring the story in. The quality and royalty. Okay, Pujita, thanks for that. What really happens is, not think like an American. Okay, think like an American. You are used to a Ford car, a Mustang, a hard, and then I bring you this Honda Civic. Now, problem was, every time when you start your car, everybody knows the car is on. Now, the American, when he started the car, The first question he asked is the car on? Is the car actually running on? Now, uh, the the interiors in the car was very light. It became very light. It's a different story that over a period of time, that those are the features which kind of came in. Now let me put this perspective in the Indian context. Imagine, I know a lot of you are Royal Enfield fans. I'm a Royal Enfield fan. I give you a Royal Enfield and say drive this bike. Yeah, you drive this bike and you happily drive it all around, and after you come back after 10 minutes, I give you another key. It is a scooty. Do you see the experience that we're talking about? A guy who's driven an Enfield, now you're giving him a scooty. You, uh, this is called customer transition. You should slowly bring me there. Eventually, the cars started failing. I mean, the car started breaking down. Now, here comes a twist in the story. The Honda company decided that as the cars were breaking down and the sales were going down, they decided, okay, we needed help. So they called people back home and said, boss, you need to send down your mechanics. Our cars are breaking down. We have tested in the Japan, but it's not working in the United States. You bring in your people. Now, this is where things get interesting. During those days, there used to be something called the MOFA or the Scooterette. I'll spell it. It's called SCOREETTE. MOFA was a less than 50 or a 60cc engine. Now, if you ask your parents, we are talking about something lesser than the TVS Luna, which used to be in India. It's used to call the MOFA, a very slow moving vehicle. It used to have space for one rider, and there used to be a little backpack behind him, just a little slot for him to keep his thing. Now, as these cars started breaking down, you found this Japanese mechanic going down to every part of these places in order to service their car. Now, you came into America to sell cars, but here comes a flip. The Americans were not at all interested in the car, but suddenly they see this guy going on the road in this mofa, and they start looking. This is interesting. The guy gets interested. He's like, okay, I'm not in. What is he trying to say? So now all of a sudden the interest has increased. Now the comedy of errors happen when the New York showroom gets a call. Hi, uh, I'm interested in buying one of your thing. They didn't know what it was. They called it a thing. So the customer service says, sir, would you want to be the Civic? It's the hybrid version and so on and so forth. No. I want that thing. What are you talking about? He says, I like that two-wheeler. So the American is thinking, every time he needs to go to the grocery store, he doesn't need to pull out his car. He says, if I can get that two-wheeler, I'll be hit to the grocery store faster. Even at our homes, we pull out the bike to go to the shop and come back because it's faster. It's customer integration. Long story short, calls were made back to the Japan, the Honda office. They ended up sending 50,000 units of the Mofa. So you came to America to sell cars, and what are you selling? Mofas, two-wheelers. So do you understand the importance of market research? Okay, now some of you may be wondering, I think I just got a text. Some of you may be wondering that you wanted an Indian case study. Okay, I'll give you an Indian case study when you're doing market research. Okay, I'll give you an Indian case study. Okay, I'll tell you from my experience itself. I had the honor of working with Tata Nano, the Concord showroom, which was there in Powai, Mumbai. Okay, we had one gentleman called Mr. Sirish Viza. He used to be the head of the showroom, and they basically called me out and said, "Hey, listen, we need to do a research to understand who are our customers. As simple as that. We want to understand who's our customer, or who and what does our customer do." Now, before I go into the story, let me do another quiz. I just love asking questions. So imagine in Vijayawada, if there is a Tata Nano showroom, okay, if there's a Tata Nano showroom, let's do this. It's going to be pretty interesting, because you'll always learn a lot from case studies and questionnaires. If there are 100 Nano sold, okay, if there are 100 Nano sold, how many Nano owners, how many percentage of Nano owners are women, and how many Nano percentage are men? Come on, quick answers. Come on, let's get some answers here. How many, if say for example, there is a 100% woman, okay, let's come to the next question. Okay, how many Nano owners are young professionals? When I say young professionals, say for example, between the age of between 5 to 8 years of experience. How many Nano owners of 5 to 8 years of experience? Come on, give me some answers, creative answers. 20, okay. How many Nano owners, maybe less, okay. How many Nano owners, you're going to get a lot of questions. How many Nano owners have a car in a joint family? Like if joint family, let me tell you what a joint family is. Joint family is like, when a kid is asked, it is not that my father and mother are living together, so they're joint family. No, not that. I'm talking about father, mother, kid, and one set of grandparents. What is the percentage of less than 1%? Nice. I like these. Hey, guys, thank you so much for keeping it interactive with these answers. Next question. How many Nano owners have a bike at home? What is the percentage? 100. Good. Okay. How many Nano owners have multiple cars at home? How many Nano owners have multiple cars at home? Okay. Last question. Now this is going to be interesting. How many Nano owners, okay, how many Nano owners take their car for shopping? Take their car for shopping. 90% of them. Okay. So let me everyone. Okay. So now you understand the kind of questions I'm asking. So let me tell you what are the kind of question I had. I had the first questionnaire of who is the owner? What does he do? Is he in a joint family? Is he in a nuclear family? Does he have a bank balance? Does he have a loan? Why is he buying the Nano? And what is he doing why is his Nano part of his budget? What is the reasons that he is taken in order to go for the Nano? We used to do a lot of research. One last question. How many Nano owners, especially how many college students drove the Nano? If there are 100 Nanos sold, how many college students will drive a Nano? Okay, I've got a very funny story for that. Okay, let me tell you. So when I finally finished the survey, in Powai, and it's almost, see, Powai is almost like it's almost like Banjara Hills, which we're talking about in Hyderabad. I finished the survey and I showed him the survey. Mr. Sirish Visa almost fell from his chair. He said, Solomon, your survey is wrong. So let me give you what are the perspectives the survey got. You would be surprised. In Powai, 75%, Sai Charan, I agree, auto is much better mileage, but this is the car story. Now, 75% in Powai and 80% in Andheri who had bought a Nano already had a car at home. So what are you saying? The Nano is for what? You call it the common car, right? You called it the common car. You called it the people's car, which basically means I am on a bike. I will leave my bike and go to a Nano. I didn't do that. Boss, this is marketing. This is business. You have to look at it. Now, I'll give you another perspective. But most of you got it right. There was only 1% of Nano owners who took their car to the college. It was just 1%. So you were less than 1% actually. So you got that right. If you noticed, what also happened is, the reason behind is why? Because the fact is, say for example, I'm a watchman. Okay, you should understand the customer's mindset. I'm a watchman. After 15 years of experience, your college, I worked in your college, and your college has said, okay, you've worked for 20 years. Here is a little bonus for you, and you can please go. All right. And now, when I go back home, uh, uh, my wife tells me that let's buy a car. Okay. Uh, why is it that I have just about enough money to buy the Nano? But why is it that I will not buy the Nano? Because give me some reasons. I mean, we are doing some reasons here. Why, as a watchman, will not buy the Nano? Somebody said an auto is better, but I will go and buy a Maruti Alto. But for that Maruti Alto, I need to take a loan extra. I need to take an extra loan in order to go back and purchase that. But for a Nano, I do not need a loan. I have enough money. I'll give you one answer. Are you able to follow what I'm saying? It's the mindset. See, the point is, the moment you brand it like common, easy, available, there is nobody is going to come for your product. I want you to remember this word, and this is a constant exercise when I'm sitting with marketing. People should aspire for your product. That is, today you are in a rental house. Tomorrow you want to go to 1-bedroom house. Day after tomorrow, 2-bedroom. Tomorrow you want to own a house. The word is aspiration. I'm going to type it. Does your product meet the aspiration of your customer? That's what you're looking at. Now, let me give you some answers that I actually got during my survey. So let me give you quickly my results of my survey. So Powai, which is one of the most poshest places in Mumbai, 70% of the people already had we're talking about Bombay. Yeah, Sai Charan, we're talking about Bombay because what happens is, I'll give you an example. I'm coming to the example. So I met those people who actually had a car at home. So I met a guy who used to drive from Bombay to Kolhapur. Kolhapur is about 14 hours. So on the weekend, he used to use his Balenos, and he used to on the weekdays he used to use the Nano. Now, if you go to Dalal Street in Bombay, and you'll find there's always a parking problem. In fact, you can stretch your hands and stop and say, give me 100 rupees. I can charge you 150 rupees and still give you parking. Parking is a major problem in Bombay. Massive. And let's be clear, this Nano was introduced in cities first before moving down to the other places. So then I asked a Seth. This is a little funny. I asked a Seth. I said, sir, you have a successful business. You are dealing in stock market. Why did you buy the Nano? His answer was, I'll tell you in Hindi. He said, I'll translate for you. He says, बेटी ने कहा उसको गाड़ी सीखना, मेरे घर पे BMW पड़ी है, तो मैंने कहा पहले तू नैनो सीख, फिर BMW पे आ. To cut a long story short, he says, I have a BMW at home. My daughter said she wanted to learn driving. So I said, darling, learn driving in the Nano, then come to my BMW, right? I'll give you another response. I went to Jain College, which is in Bombay, just outside Parel, and I only was able to find one guy who had a Nano. I walked up to him and I asked him, sir, I need to ask you a question. He was not even interested in talking to me. I said, listen, I'm doing a straightforward survey. I just need you to talk to me. Then I said, why? I think you must be the happiest guy because you are the only guy who's got a car inside the campus. I'm not looking at any other car. That guy turns around and said, he just in Hindi, he told me, sir, aap pagal to nahi ho gaye ho? He basically turned around saying, he asked me, he said, I hope you're not mad. His grunt was, I went to my father. I said, Papa, Royal Enfield, look what he's given me. Perception, aspiration. Let me give you another example. If you're thinking that I'm criticizing Nano, not really. Nano made you'll be surprised in my research, when we did on the Nano, we kind of found out it is easier for an old man and an old lady to get into a Nano than into a Santro. And even a Tata Tiago, for example. Now, when you're doing market, see what I'm really hitting at. all these things that we're talking about, the surveys and all of it, if somebody does a survey where if you give a sheet of paper and you give a Google survey, it doesn't work. Survey is I ask you a question and I should be able to make an observation. Survey is has to have you involved. If you're not involved, I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of mistake. Like say, for example, I do know, I like I did work for a bit as far as a consultant, as far as with a radio station. They got the entire strategy wrong because they had a in the questionnaire the error rate was 70%. So you finish writing, 70% is the error rate. 70% error rate when you're giving away questionnaires. That's the kind, imagine when you are trying to do that with big companies, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be madness. So you got to get your facts right. In most of my conversations, I pick up the phone, I even audio record, I video record, because I believe when I'm talking to a customer, that is what is going to run my business. His problem is what is going to run my business. To close the story on Nano, as we possibly are almost moving to a closure of time, I would suggest, when the Nano was launched, Sai Charan has just put in a comment saying, but rich people will not buy the car. Sai, you're right. The rich people will not buy the car for themselves, but they'll buy it for the others. They'll buy it for utility uses, because for them the word common is like, acha, it's a common car. But for a person like me and you want to aspire. I mean, I don't know how many boys will aspire. Most of the boys are saying after the Pulsar, they want to go to an FZ. They want to buy an Enfield. They want to aspire. Now, if the Nano did not help you aspire, hence the downfall. Okay, so what is, somebody was talking about advertising strategy. Let me give you one. After doing these mistakes, after doing this mistake, they kind of realize that their main market were old people and ladies, but they didn't target them. After a lot of research, they started offering the Nano car in silver, pink, violet green, purple, to make it young. So the entire messaging of the violet cars, the entire messaging of the Nano cars had to change, because one concept was that they, from a common man car, they decided to become a practical purpose car. Now, I would also like to bring to your kind attention in terms of, whenever you're doing research, whenever you're doing research, make sure you're able to find out the cost factor in research, because most of the time they are not able to do it. I think I've shared a fair amount of ideas today. I'm going to be stopping here. So let me just recap. So we first start with what? Reverse engineering. Yeah, we do reverse engineering. We find out where are we going to start with. Number two, it is the strength of the business, not your strength. It is the strength of the business. I'm again telling you, it's the strength of the business. Third, when you're moving to the minimum value product, or very specifically market research, you got to find out, number third, what problem do you solve? Are people willing to buy your product? That's number three. Let's get to number four, market research. After you get this market research, then you will be able to have a, a constructive business idea. Right. I'm going to stop here. If you have any questions, please feel free to share. Please continue to type. But let me show you something, because there's a little something that I have prepared for you, and I just wanted to share that with you, because if some of you want to basically sit on a business idea, yeah, and you want to make sure that you're going to be asking, saying, can I look at document? Can I look at some studies? I will be sharing you a Google link. It's got templates on how a business is run. It's got, it's got a lot of questionnaire. You need to answer all the questions before you can arrive. So let me share my screen for a bit, and there we have it. So this particular Google Drive. I'm going to be sharing it with you. In this Google Drive, you have at least multiple presentations. If you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with me. I'll be happy to maybe take it offline later. Now, the idea is to make sure that I somehow uh, get you on board to the thought that we have to get into business, boss. Uh, why? It's simple because from the year 2012 to the year 2019 and 20, campus placements or even job opportunities are coming in down. And more importantly, when you join in a job, the biggest challenge is it's not your job. It is anybody else's to take. Why I turned into an entrepreneurship and consulting business is why, because it is mine. It is my work. It's what I'm able to even, when I have children, I can even pass it on to them. I can pass it on to my friends and family as well. I've shared the link of the Google Drive for you guys. So in that particular Google Drive, you'll find two presentations on how they have gone about starting the business. There is also a template on identifying business opportunities. So I just prepared that for you guys so that you're able to read and just become more knowledgeable. Right. I think with that, I would like to.
Hello.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Solomon ji, I'm Dr. M.S. Raju speaking. I'm a professor in civil engineering and IQAC coordinator of ER Siddhartha Engineering College.
Yes, sir.
And just I want to interact. I too have some, identified one industry related to the coconut. I want to add some value to the coconut because I belongs to the East Godavari. I too have some coconut fields. So particularly with reference to the virgin coconut oil and so on, I referred so many even publications to what extent it is useful to the health and what are the things we have discussed so far. With reference to that, I studied many things, of course, 2 years ago. But finally, I want to visit some industries already producing these products. And moreover,
So one moment, sir. One moment. Before you are able to come to a final product, this is where I would advise you. And uh, I understand even if you visit an industry, it'll give you a perspective. But more than
yes,
that,
yes.
do you have a research which says, boss, virgin coconuts are coconut fabric, or coconut fiber, are the coconut board? According to Coconut Board, have you gone to the website and seen which is the highest export? Now, I'll give you, sir, if you're part of the Godavari Basin, I'll give you a very simple tidbit.
Yeah, yeah.
America is the largest consumer of bananas in the world. They are the largest consumer, no way about it. But do you know they don't even produce even one banana in their entire country? So if
Uh,
I'm in your position, will I do coconut trading or will I do banana trading? Again, I'm a very simple, plain guy where he says that I will look at a business opportunity where it is present, rather than trying to see that on my existing product if I'm trying to oversell it. So that's my first answer to you is please look at please look at it down and see what are the exports, which part of coconuts is much higher, and then you can take it from there. We can connect, sir, even after this. I believe uh, the duration has just gone in. Chandrika ma'am, you have
no, no.
still. Yeah.
My question is finally I'm coming to the question.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I want to visit those industries which are located in Kerala, and I wrote a letter to two to three industries for asking the permission, but no one is responded. And on the
Uh,
other side, the government is promoting the industry. And what's the way how I can reach these industries at the initial stage, and so that I can visually visualize these things, what is happening there, and to like what you said, to whom they are, selling this product for getting that information. What I have to do that?
uh, okay. So, question number one. I would not go to Kerala. I'll go to Pollachi and Palakkad because Pollachi has the choir board. They have the biggest choir board, and I think their choir board is bigger than Kerala's. So I would rather go to people who are willing to do a tie-up with you. That is, I will be your sourcer. I will give you the product and take it. So I would rather say you should try Coir Board Pollachi and Coir Board Palakkad. These are the two places. Let me see if I can able to.
Pollachi
Palakkad,
and the second one,
Palakkad, Palakkad.
Palakkad.
Palakkad is next to Coimbatore. Uh, there is a challenge because see, sir, and another thing is like if today I should say this, but I personally go on the field. I know it is COVID-19. I know there is a pandemic. Because I've tried doing, see, when in my business line of business, when I pick up a phone, I pick up a Zoom, there are a lot of times I'm not even able to finalize a decision. There are certain Zoom calls and certain meetings I'm not even able to come to a finalization in 4 months. I just bang the phone and I just travel. Sometimes you have to, I mean, that's business for us because, and I find what I could do in 4 months, I've done it in 40 minutes. So my submission is, if whenever you find a little means to travel, fix up appointment, travel it out, because eventually when you travel there, they will definitely honor your presence, because there are a lot of times when we call up people, they may or may not respond, but when you're there in physical presence, the chances of them responding is much higher.
Okay, okay.
So
Okay.
we'll touch base. I would like to take a few questions, and there's another question. It may be silly, but my question is: if two vendors selling the same product side by side, how do we get better profit without minimizing the cost of product? Okay, Sai Charan, the first thing that I'm not a big fan of. Okay, let me give you a shortest example possible. In Goa, I met a guy called Prakash, and his name he's actually called Paper Prakash during Diwali. So what he does is he basically goes out aggressive to get as many number of orders. You'll be surprised when he's able to do only 5 to 7 tons of paper making. What really happens is that during Diwali it goes up to 15 to 25 tons. So I asked him, boss, how do you manage this much of load? You know what he does? He goes to his competitor and says, here is the money, here is your rate card. Can you supply? Boss, business, the I think let me just open your head. The concept of doing business has changed. You may look at your competitor and say he's my competitor, but not many of us are thinking that he could also be my collaborator. So if you're asking me how do I compete with him, I'm saying compete compete in a space where there's a much easier market access. I mean, that's a topic for a different day, but we will do that out. Okay, sir, can you? I'm going to give Rahul quick question. Can you please give me a small brief example of forex profit? Okay, forex profit is very simple. So, say for example, I make lemon juice. My lemon juice cost is 3 rupees. I should not sell it for less than 15 rupees, because 15 minus 3 is 12 rupees. That is the simplest. If you cannot push your business more than forex profit, it's very, very difficult to sustain, because say for example, even if I'm a tea shop owner, I need to pay corporation, I need to pay taxes. So keep it that way. There's a question by Yashoda Krishna. How can we contact you, sir, if you need any help or mentoring? First and foremost, thank you that you feel that I can help you. I'll be more than happy to help. My request to you is please get in touch with Chandrika ma'am and also Dr. Shawat Srinivas sir. They will be able to help you with my contact. In fact, your assistant professor Chandrika ma'am has been very, very aggressively following up, saying, "When are you going to talk to us?" And she's somehow managed it despite whatever it is. But yeah, so get in touch with Chandrika ma'am. I'm sure she will be able to lead you on to us. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Very wonderful session. I'm sure the session was very informative.
Thank you. I really appreciate having me, ma'am.
Looking forward to more interactive sessions with you, sir.
Yes, 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 yes. Sai Charan, thank you, everyone. Firstly, I want to thank you and also the head of the department. And once again, I would also like to thank Manoj, a brother to me, who's also the director at APIS, for having given me your introduction. We will continue to interact, and I want to wish all of you. I mean, just do a lot of research. It's actually more competitive and much more credible when you're getting into business. I wish you well. Thank you, ma'am, for having me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Uh,
everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.